Ryan, it feels like a complete reversal of the narrative last year, which was Apple's behind on AI. It's a problem it's not investing in the applications of AI and not keeping up. So what, is this a good thing for Apple now?
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. Absolutely. If you look at all the major AI concerns that are in the market right now, it's kind of amazing how much Apple has completely sidestepped them. So if you're worried about big tech capex, Apple isn't really spending. If you're worried about AI eating software, Apple isn't really software. If you're worried about AI disruption more broadly, Apple isn't really participating in any of the areas that are being hit by these disruption fears. However, if you are optimistic about AI, Apple devices are probably going to be the major way that people access AI services. So it does seem like it isn't really part of any of the major concerns, but it could participate in any upside. And right now, that has really allowed the company to decouple itself from some of the broader concerns out there. Like we saw yesterday, Apple rose pretty strongly even as the overall market fell.
How then do the concerns play in of them not keeping up with AI, of not getting there, Ryan? I mean, surely that's still something that would weigh on shares if they haven't fully integrated into their systems and then they fall behind on Google, for example, on Androids that can more easily integrate systems like Gemini.
Well, a few weeks ago, they came out with a big announcement, multi-year agreement with Alphabet for Google to basically run the AI tech on Apple devices, including Siri. I know they were going to be working on their own version of Siri that was updated with AI. We just reported last week that that was potentially delayed. But the fact that they are able to work with Google the way they did for search on the iPhone, that is something that is of great comfort to people. The idea that you're able to work with all these providers, all these big LLMs are going to have apps on the iPhone that allows people to access these services even if they're not directly from Apple. So I don't think it's the idea that everyone's going to be using AI, but it's not available on the iPhone. That's not how it's going to be. And I don't think the fact that they have their own in-house LLM is something that's going to be as big a concern if people are already able to access those services through other providers on the iPhone.
Ryan, one of the other stories, Mark Gurman reporting on this exclusively late yesterday, that Apple's also looking into other AI hardware devices. I wonder how this is going to go for them, considering they put a lot of effort into their VR headset, and there was some fanfare around it, but it doesn't seem to really have had a life beyond that.
Yeah, what's interesting about this to me is that if you do look out over a longer term basis, talking 5-10 years from now, I've seen some people talk about the idea that these kinds of VR and AR headsets and glasses, this could be sort of an iPhone killer. So if you're constantly using that as your access point for technology or however you're accessing these services instead of your phone, that's sort of be very interesting to me. What does this mean for the business longer term? Of course, it's still very early in this technology, even Meta's glasses, which I think they have partnerships with Ray-Ban and some other major providers like that. Even those aren't, ubiquitous in the same way phones are. But the fact that Apple is getting into this, it does indicate that maybe the next generation of technology is going to be more glasses focused and maybe less on the phone, although that's just purely speculation.